Make no attempt to reload your device. You are now entering the Hellhole.
Welcome back to the Hellhole. Wow, we're looking mighty red. And that's toned down. Can you believe that? Stuff's been happening in the world of gaming. I don't know why September 14th was like this big Shazam-a-thon of stuff. Wow, it's late. I'm taking a little bit of a risk. I'm feeling a little frisky. I figured I'll do this. I usually don't like to start this late because I'm not necessarily at my best, but we're going to take a look at some trailers that have been, that sort of caught my eye, because this is the thing we do now. I've done it a couple of times, so now we just got to do it every time. But there were some things that I was interested in, so I thought it might be fun just to convene in the Hellhole, discuss the newest, the latest, not necessarily the greatest, but we'll see. So there was a Nintendo Direct, there was the Sony State of Play, and I'm throwing in the launch of Mortal Kombat 1. It's in early access for premium and collector's editions right now, but official street date is the 19th. So a lot of people are playing Mortal Kombat 1 right now. There's going to be spoilers. I probably should I maybe mention that. I'm saying it now. I don't know. Hopefully nobody's going to come in and be mad because we're going to discuss Mortal Kombat 1's story, because I've sat through the story mode and I didn't particularly enjoy it, but hopefully all the audio is good. I don't know. I'm always a little bit unsure. I've kind of thrown this together last minute. Let's get into it. Here's the Mortal Kombat 1 launch trailer. Oh my goodness, this knuckle-headed game, grains of sand. Oh wow! I mean, I don't want to just like go into a tirade of disappointment. I'm a pretty storied Mortal Kombat fan since the original game. I've been following the series. I'm here for the story predominantly. I'm not necessarily like a technico. I'm not a gameplay maven or anything like that. So I'm here for the story. I'm here for the characters. And Mortal Kombat 1, I mean, we knew right from the outset that it was starting from a bad place as far as I was concerned, because I loathe reboots in general, hard reboots. A soft reboot is fine, something that that freshens up an existing franchise, but doesn't rewrite it, doesn't remake it. Well, here we are. We're doing the second reset for Mortal Kombat. I generally consider the 2011 remake to be or reboot to be a disappointment. I wasn't the biggest fan. It had its positives, and I think in terms of the development of the series, I think the 2011 game was good for advancing the presentation of story mode, just the general modes, the style, the gameplay really benefited. It improved upon Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. It really developed things in a great way. So, I mean, we're seeing a whole lot of things here in the launch trailer. There's Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, Van Damme, it's baffling to me. Van Damme has such distinct bone structure and features, and it's like every now and then you sort of get a sense of Van Damme, but it's very dubious. And then even for young Van Damme, like Bloodsport Van Damme, he's got that softer sort of baby fat in the face. You know, he doesn't have the really super distinct lines, but they're there. They are there. His bone structure is quite distinct. I'm baffled how they came away with this, but I feel that way about so much of this game. Like, so much of it is like, how did you not quite, like, how did you go that direction? I don't know. The story mode was just like, I mean, it dwells so long on things that are self-evident, and so much of it is like, I mean, I got to give them credit. This could be, I guess, this is designed in some ways to try to appeal to everyone. It's got one foot in, this is somebody's first game, I think, because it really, really like boils it down, and just the story is very, very meandering and really dwelling on things that seem pretty self-evident and are certainly clear if you already know the franchise. They're trying to introduce these characters that are coming back. Lee May, I mean, Lee May is the one that gets most of the introduction, I guess, in terms of story mode trailers. The thing that was irritating me, like, I'm sitting here watching Johnny Cage in like some faux Indiana Jones thing, and it's like, we know this is a movie. It takes 10 minutes to get past that. I guess they're hedging their bets on, if they commit to the bit, we'll think that Johnny Cage is like an Indiana Jones style adventurer in this timeline. I don't know why, but it just felt like, we get the joke. Spend 10 seconds on it, not 10 minutes. Excruciating stuff. I don't know how much I want to spoil. Shang Tsung is a massive part of the story. You know, I was talking about before pre-release, it'd be kind of interesting because we are bridging from Mortal Kombat 11. I kind of, I don't like where we are in terms of storytelling and for the series, but if you give them the conceit that that's where we are, okay, how can we exploit this the best? One of the criticisms I had of like the MK 2011 reboot was, okay, I don't want to be rebooting, but that's the premise you've given us. You've used a conceit that Raiden has sent a message back in time. So now it's about changing the past deliberately. And it was really frustrating that some of the changes were totally arbitrary, like just nonsense new additions, which happens in this game as well. There's things that, like, this isn't a consequence of a new timeline. This is just, baffling nonsense. But man, I'm losing my train of thought. I knew this was going to be a problem. It's very late. It's been a long day. But yeah, what am I even saying? Oh yeah, so like Shang Tsung, I thought it would be interesting, particularly after that announced trailer. The announced trailer had like Shang Tsung coming out of the portal, and Liu Kang does the big fatality on him, and I was thinking, in terms of, okay, what's this big bad? It'd be interesting maybe if, like, because if you played Mortal Kombat 11, there was a Shang Tsung ending, there was a Liu Kang ending, and it was sort of like, imagine if the Shang Tsung version keeps busting into Liu Kang's reality, because we know the premise of this entire game is that Liu Kang has rewritten destiny, rewritten timelines, recreated the entire sort of reality that we're presented here. But so it was an interesting idea of like, what if, because you would presume that Liu Kang would not position Shang Tsung in a position of power. And if you've seen the beginning of the game, it's the very, very, it's like is it a prologue? Shang Tsung is very much living a meager life, and there's a mysterious character shows up. I think a lot of people were mistaking it for Kronika. I was kind of hedging my bets. I wasn't quite convinced. A character that looks like Kronika is sort of giving him a leg up. Man, there's so many thoughts coming at me, flying left and right. But anyway, yeah, I thought it would be interesting if MK11 Shang Tsung was sort of like busting in on the reality, because that was like that's a common sense thing. If you played MK11, you're going to think of that, because they've sort of introduced this conceit of timelines, and MK11 Aftermath really gave us the two alternative endings, and it's sort of like, yeah, these games often will choose an ending and go with it, but this one sort of presented two potential endings, and with the timeline gimmick, if you're going to have that there, you might as well use it. In any event, yes, there is an MK11 Shang Tsung element. I feel they do it in a really dud way. Again, a bit like the Indiana Jones Johnny Cage thing. It's like, we know this is probably a potential outcome if we've played Mortal Kombat 11, but they play it like a big mystery and surprise, and then it's very frustrating. It feels like so many of these elements are just like not well laid out. There's details I don't like. I mean, it was a little bit baffling to me going back to that idea that MK 2011. It presented this idea that it was a whole new reality, and you don't know what's gonna change, man. Anything could happen, and it was so like they killed Kung Lao, they turned Sub-Zero into a cyber assassin, Lin Kuei cyber assassin. So here we are. Okay, we're doing another reboot. It's another reality. We have this strong conceit that Liu Kang is the catalyst for designing this reality. So the premise is here, everything's going to be different. You would think, Shang Tsung, he's not going to be doing too good. Shao Kahn, he's not going to be an issue because, of course, we don't want him. The subversion of expectation in Mortal Kombat 1 is that everything is essentially familiar. It's not that different at all. And that really rubs me up the wrong way in some ways. I mean, I'm of two minds because I don't want to be doing reboots. I don't want arbitrary change. But if we're going to keep revisiting these earlier periods in the storylines, then, and you're telling me that, you've got this strong central catalyst for the reboot, you got to use it. And it feels like they haven't used it. And it was a bit like that with, Mortal Kombat X. There was so much emphasis on it's 25 years in the future and all that. And they didn't really do anything with it. I thought, okay, you're going to get like, they keep introducing like guest characters from action movies. And I'm thinking like, action movie cliche future. It's going to be your sci-fi future. Maybe it's a little bit Mad Max. And they kind of did a little bit of that with like Ferritor was there. And the Outworld Marketplace felt a little bit like Bartertown from Beyond Thunderdome and all that kind of stuff. So there was a little bit of that, but it just... And Kano, I liked that Mortal Kombat X Kano design. That was kind of interesting where he had a bit more hardware on him. He looked a little bit more grizzled. I thought there should have been more of that in Mortal Kombat X. And I feel like these games, they keep presenting a premise and then they don't really fulfill it. And this game has so much on the back foot by giving us another reboot, It's a decade later, really. It's kind of like MK Complete Edition was 2012, which is 2023. So we're just over 10 years later. We're rebooting again. It's kind of this, and that idea that premises aren't fulfilled. There was a trailer. I mean, so much of the story mode. You got to go like the first 70% of story mode before you get away from trailers. I did feel like I'd seen so much of this. Obviously, they cut around certain details to give you something. The story mode, I wouldn't want to say the story mode is completely meritless or completely without its appeal, and I know some people are enjoying it. I think generally a lot of fans are just happy with anything that's not a total disaster. They're happy to see the characters in motion and see some sort of story. I'm a little baffled how you could come away feeling this is any kind of great triumph, but apparently somebody does. I don't know how many of these are professional enthusiasts, quote unquote. But let's not go down that road. But in terms of not fulfilling things, so one of the things that comes to mind, we kept hearing about Shao Kahn's illustrious father, and when that first trailer came out, I wasn't even convinced that was Shao Kahn because he looks physically so different. He's got these massive horns. Okay, Shao Kahn doesn't look like that. They keep referencing the illustrious father. So what's the deal there? Story mode doesn't address that. Now, to their credit, I think Stephanie Brownback, one of the NRS team, has made it known that you play those classic towers after you play story mode, and you're going to get a little bit more out of it, and that the classic towers kind of build on the story. So maybe for individual characters, we will get those kinds of answers because they keep. They make this real strong point of Shao Kahn's illustrious father. Maybe it's a throwaway line. Maybe it's not. I just want to know, like, he is so physically different and there is no reasonable explanation for that. So I would hope there's something presented. They also, there's so much to be dissatisfied with. It was very disappointing in a lot of the details, and the details are really what matters in some ways. I full disclosure too, I sat through the whole story mode not in one sitting, but close to, I might have tuned out. But I don't remember any real explanation for why Kuai Liang, the character we would know as Sub-Zero for most of the franchise, since Mortal Kombat 2 and throughout most of the series, he's Sub-Zero. In this reality, he's Scorpion. I don't remember that being addressed. And that's a real sticking point. I don't care for that one bit as a longtime fan, and as just a reasonably cogent individual. You're going to pull that kind of thing. I need an explanation. Otherwise, that's just fanfic nonsense. And then the story mode ends with like this sort of celebratory element of like Kuai Liang has agreed to start a new clan, the Shirai Ryu. Kuai Liang is a Chinese Lin Kuei guy. So why is he Scorpion, and why is he starting the Japanese ninja clan called the Shirai Ryu? That requires some explanation, because that is nonsense. Things like that, very frustrating. I don't know if Hanzo Hasashi is the real name of Scorpion. That we got all these real names for characters. Reptile is Sizoth now, which is a little corny, but Reptile's not really a great name for a guy, so that makes sense. But I keep saying that. I don't know. There's just so much to be dissatisfied with. I mentioned like fanfic caliber ideas. If you're concerned about Mortal Kombat 1 spoilers, look away now. I don't know. Give me, or skip ahead 5 minutes. I'll try to wrap this up quick. But really, like the big finish is they reference. There's no real explanation for why there is a pyramid like Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which was in Edenia. Maybe, I don't know, Shang Tsung was just running out of his own ideas that way, or something in the chaos of it all. For some reason, they end up on a pyramid like Mortal Kombat Armageddon with the it's this multiverse bullshit. And it's so frustrating that Mortal Kombat keeps sort of doing whatever like Marvel's doing and stuff like that. The Marvel films specifically, it feels like they did time travel, then Mortal Kombat does time travel, and it's like all multiverse is just infecting everything. Really, because it's a very haphazard application of the concept of multiverse. Like a multiverse is a common concept in comic books, but it was very much addressing the reality of things and trying to sort of conceptualize it. And the idea that, why does the shitty TV version exist next to this comic book version? It's just a rationalization. Oh, it's a multiverse. That's a different universe. That kind of thing. And you can use it to tell interesting stories and do interesting things. I don't necessarily think that's what's at play here, though. This is essentially an elaborate exercise in keeping the franchise in Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 territory. Although this is a very strange hodgepodge, adds some 3D era stuff. So, like I was saying, the Armageddon pyramid is a big factor at the end, and the real fanfic element is that because it's the fighters of the multiverse all cascading on sides of good and evil, fighting for the fate of multiple realities, or Liu Kang's reality at the very least. There's these mashup characters like. Was it Scorp Lao? Johnny Carnum? So it's like Johnny Cage and Shao Kahn. It's Scorpion with like Kung Lao's hat. It's miserable. It's so miserable. And there was a lot of like gender. There was a gender swap Ermac, a gender swap Reptile, which, in terms of the concept of like the multiverse, it works. But it just felt like at the end of this game that was already so creatively unsatisfying and conceptually unsatisfying, that they finished with this like miserable fanfic mashup crap. It was a horrible time. I'm not even addressing the trailer. I don't know. Do we need to discuss the trailer for this one? I'm really responding to the Mortal Kombat 1 story mode and just the disappointment as a fan. It felt like some of these flaws felt like vintage MK, because there's a long history of frustration with Mortal Kombat. There's a lot of there's a bit of noise about how this is the franchise that maintains a story and stuff like that, but there's always been like this push and pull where it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. Sometimes it feels like you're supporting the losing team, or your favorite team is losing at home or something. That it reminded me of like we're presented, because we're sort of experiencing story mode as like introduction to characters, even well established characters that we know. Like Johnny Cage is recruit. It's like Fire God Liu Kang is recruiting Earthrealm defenders who have not yet reach their potential. So you've got like, Johnny Cage comes in, Kenshi. There's I don't want to spoil the whole thing for you, but essentially everybody is a rookie. It's like all these rookie green guys who haven't experienced anything, who don't know anything, and that's even a little bit of a plot point that Liu Kang's reality isn't as prepared as Shang Tsung's timeline is. There are multiple other timelines, but essentially what we're left with then is that the timeline we're experiencing, Mortal Kombat 1, Liu Kang's timeline, is the only timeline where all the main characters are like rookie punks who don't know shit, who can't do shit, and we're shown like all these other much cooler alternative timelines that we're not allowed to experience. It reminds me of like the old days where the only time we got to experience the characters was when they were failing. It was like, like boss characters would be told, oh yeah, like Kintara's a big deal, Gora's a big deal, but we only ever experienced them in a state of failure, really. It reminds me of like Mortal Kombat 4 character endings. Liu Kang is like walking into a trap in the most boneheaded way imaginable. And that was the pitfall of Shujinko. That's why people hated Shujinko, because he was presented as such a buffoon. And that was an old problem for Mortal Kombat. Every time we got to actually experience the characters in motion existing, we were experiencing them, they were presented as buffoons, and we were experiencing them in states of failure and just stupidity. There's a lot of that. Man, what they've done to Reptile is kind of like, that's a downgrade. Like, soggy, sad boy Reptile. Oh my goodness. It's just, and then they just sort of like throw in, oh well, here's the Dragon King's invincible army from Deadly Alliance, get excited about that one, kids. Lee May's back. And the dangling, I felt like while I was watching the story mode, like Havoc shows up. There's all these, I'm really sorry I'm bouncing around, but I'm just getting bombarded by like all these disappointments, all these thoughts. There's all these like really tedious secret origins of things, like Kung Lao throws his hat, but it's just a regular hat and it doesn't go anywhere, and he's like, oh, and then he throws like a razor tip tray or something. It's like, oh, I could put that in my hat. Oh, secret origin of Kung Lao's hat. Quan Chi shows up, but it's like he's just like a guy with a bit of face paint. And then with somebody does like a soul attack on him. Oh my god, look at he's gone all pasty. It's the secret origin of Quan Chi's pasty face. They do it for something else as well. I forget. There's like these really tedious, like, we don't need to know. Oh yeah, that's where I started. Havoc gets his head, like Havoc's just a guy hanging around the whole time, which quite frankly, this is, I've been telling you for years, Havoc is a trash character. The concept of chaos is never fulfilled, cannot be adequately fulfilled, will never be satisfying because the developer cannot do it. They don't do strong, non-playable fights anymore, and that's the only way Havoc could really function to the fullest, because fighting games are so much about, like, increasingly, like, particularly now where Mortal Kombat is a viable competitive franchise at like the EVO level, the competitive tournament level, you need balance. You need these characters to function balanced. The measure of the game is its balance. So Havoc's concept of chaos, like that's pulling an arm off, bowling his head, that's not chaos. That's lame. That could be a crash test dummy guest character. It's the same thing. This idea of chaos, that he's a chaos cleric, which got all the kids excited who don't want to do their homework or eat the vegetables or some shit. It's like, oh, chaos, oh, it's like the Joker, oh. It's very tedious. I clearly am not impressed. It's never going to happen. And he keeps, and the comics like present him making these meticulous plans. That's not chaos. He's supposed to be like a being of chaos. Anyway, I just find characters like that unsatisfying. It's a check that they write, but they can never cash. And so in the Mortal Kombat 1 story mode, he's just a guy hanging around with Quan Chi. He's like one of his goons, which to me is sort of like, yeah, well, what do you expect? They're never going to do it properly. And then we get the secret origin of why he has like a jacked up partial skeleton face, because somebody dunked his head in a pot of gold. And I think there is a design detail where he has a bit of gold on him. There's a lot of, it looks like there's a hell of a lot of customization options and stuff, and that played into that. So I presume they're just randomly generated characters at the end, the multiverse characters, where they sort of mash up characters, stick different bits on different characters. It's very uninspiring, but I kind of get it, and it's not. Under different circumstances, it would be a more acceptable, maybe even interesting kind of idea. And that's where, I'm bouncing around, going back to like the idea of MK11 Shang Tsung. That seemed like an interesting idea from that announced trailer where we had the portal open up. And that's the kind of thing I was looking for. Let's not water everything down with multiple timelines. Let's really focus on one reality. And really, I feel like that is the great disappointment of that 2011 reboot. It's that the franchise has essentially told us nothing matters that much. Everything that was built up over 7 games from the first game to Armageddon, which was a good ride if you were on it. All of that is subject to change. All of that sort of doesn't really matter, even game to game now. The presentation of Sindel is wildly different in this game to what it was in Mortal Kombat 11. I would agree with a lot of people that MK11 was an error of judgment. It's good that they reversed it. They actually show footage. They show it within this game. There is a vision of what happened in Mortal Kombat 11, and it's so funny because it's literally just like, it's an MP4 ripped from MK11 cutscenes or something, or some gameplay footage. So Sindel's model is wildly different to what she looks like here. It's a multiverse. Oh, you could look totally different for some reason. My mind is just like on fire with dissatisfaction as far as this game goes. I'm really, I'm disappointed. More power to anyone who's having fun with it. And as a game, sitting down playing with it, maybe that's cool. I feel like the invasion mode's a little underwhelming. And the invasion mode is so tied to this multiverse nonsense. It's just like, yeah, that's disappointing. Is that I'm curious if that's going to cash the check of, because there was an invasion mode in Mortal Kombat X, and that landed like a lead balloon, because it was presented as though you would have invading characters from other realms, and this fixation on characters like Havoc. So people thought Chaos Realm invasion, we got to fight Havoc in this live mode. Of course, that didn't happen. It was just like. It was one of these fanfic. It was like fanfic Kano. He represents Chaos Realm for some reason. I don't know. They had no real plan. They create so many of these problems for themselves. Where of course a fan is disappointed because it seems like you're telling them one thing and then you do the least interesting thing with it. It's a common problem. I mean, look, we know about issues of like developer crunch. And that was a big story for NetherRealm Studios a few years ago, like some of the trials that developers were experiencing and employees for NetherRealm. And I fully sympathize with that. I'm certainly, my argument is not like strap them to their chairs and work them to the bone kind of thing. It's just like, can we be a little bit smarter? Could we be more efficient? Could we exploit these ideas better? And I get the impression that like NetherRealm has a little bit of like... They were clearly stewards. I mean, it seems like maybe a bit of an American thing too, where it's like there are positions, people in positions, and there are stewards of certain aspects of it. But then you have no real authorship. You got this like because the story guy is saddled with whatever else is thrown in by like Timmy from accounting or whatever. I don't know. They do these. We've been shown this idea that they might have an open meeting. I think there was a lot of remote work that probably affected this one. I don't know. I just feel like it seems like they're not getting the most out of what they're doing. But like I said, so we're seeing a lot of characters here. I might as well at least acknowledge this trailer, because the trailer is the flimsy facade around which I'm essentially just airing grievances. It's Festivus here in the Hellhole tonight, but I'm assuming that the Towers of Time, I think the mode is essentially the classic tower, the arcade-style tower. I'm assuming they will give us some of these missing pieces. Maybe they'll fill out these characters. Hopefully the presentation is good. Maybe Invasion Mode will contribute. The current Invasion Mode is Scorpion, and it's Scorpion who has been traveling the multiverse, the various timelines, searching for his wife, a reality where his wife and he can be together. I presume we're going to be told what happened to Liu Kang timeline's Scorpion, because I don't think that's addressed at all in the story mode, even though we have this phony Scorpion walking around. What transpired that makes it at all sensible that Kuai Liang became Scorpion? I don't think any explanation is going to be good enough, quite frankly. I just think that's a really dumb concept. It's really disappointing. It's really lame. But at least give us an explanation. And I'm sure it's something as simple as, I mean, in previous, like Mortal Kombat 2, the story is essentially that Scorpion thinks Sub-Zero's back. He thought he killed him at the tournament or whatever, in the first game. So he comes after Scorpion. Hey, you're not Bihan. You're Kuai Liang. He's on Mars in the ending. It's a big Mortal Kombat 2 detail. And then Scorpion vows to defend him, because he's mistaken identity, he's attacked the wrong guy, he's dishonored himself, and then he sort of makes this pact. And we saw that play out in in Mortal Kombat 11, like with Scorpion and Sub-Zero teaming up, Kuai Liang and Hanzo Hasashi. So there is certainly fertile grounds for establishing that they might have a relationship, that Kuai Liang might be sympathetic to carrying on his legacy. Although, see, so much of this Mortal Kombat 1 game doesn't feel like it was thought out. We have so many key pieces of fiction in place. And there was a sense of that in Mortal Kombat 11, where there were these arbitrary changes. They were just sort of, it played like somebody who didn't know their own fiction. It played like somebody new was in charge, didn't know the details. Occasionally, you get this sense that like people are reading the fan wiki, which is notoriously sketchy. It's always had these weird fan insertions, don't even start me on the one bean and all of that, although I've got my own fan insertions as far as that goes. Let's not even touch that. They don't deal with it here. We don't need to discuss that. We don't need anything to do with that. But I keep saying that. I've totally lost my train of thought again, man. There's just so much coming at me. So much dissatisfaction. How do I articulate it all? How can I make a reasonable case for my disappointment? In the end, does it matter? Not really. I don't expect them to tear everything down, but it would just be wonderful to play one of these games and be totally satisfied. It's been a while. This is maybe the Mortal Kombat I've been the most down on in a while, because I didn't mind Mortal Kombat 11. Like I said, I don't want to be here in this timeline nonsense. I just want to be accumulating story, experiencing new stories, and carrying on. But for what it was, I thought MK11 was pretty good. The game itself looked very good. I think MK11 looks better than Mortal Kombat 1 aesthetically. Some of that is more design than graphics. But, MK1 isn't terrible. But I liked MK11 as a presentation, as an experience. The crypt mode with Shang Tsung's island was good, and I thought Aftermath really just gave it something extra. I liked all the characters, Fujin and all that. A little disappointed not to see Fujin here, by the way, because we sort of had him participating in Shang Tsung's MK11 ending. Maybe we'll see that in DLC. The DLC situation is curious. I guess I might as well jump on that now. I'm very disappointed to see, so Shang Tsung is a pre-order bonus DLC character. I believe he'll be sold separately as DLC. I don't know if you can unlock him through the game. I don't think so. So Shang Tsung being a major character and being a pre-order bonus, that disappoints me. Although, again, I could be mistaken. Maybe he's unlockable. I'm not quite sure. But certainly Quan Chi and Ermac, who are in the Combat Pack DLC. So two of the three downloadable characters in the combat pack, the first downloadable characters, they have major roles in the story mode. And that feels a little bit like, that's disappointing. Just in terms as a consumer, I don't like that. DLC in general rubs me up the wrong way a little bit. I want the most complete, most packed experience, the most satisfying experience. I don't know. I don't want to. I mean, we've done half an hour on this. How much dissatisfaction can one man have? Full credit to them. The technical engineers. Everything. It is a decent looking game. Aesthetically, I'm not quite on board, but it's not the worst thing we've ever seen. That's for sure. I think the people involved, I'm sure, are working very hard and doing some good work, but I just wish it was in service of something maybe a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more considered. I didn't really finish that thought, but yeah, there's just so much fiction in place, and I feel like, okay, so the premise is Liu Kang is making a reality. Okay, we want to create some differences. That's our conceit, just creatively. To me, like, there were so many things they could have done, and there's no explanation. Why? So... yeah, okay, Sindel's going to rule Outworld, and that's going to be pleasant. Liu Kang does express this. Why is Edenia merged with Outworld, though? That's such a major thing. And why in Liu Kang's reality is Edenia not maintained? Maybe there's an explanation in one of the classic towers, That's the get out of jail free for a lot of this stuff. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe. Is it going to be satisfying? I don't know. I wish that they had looked at what was established, looked at this premise of Liu Kang's going to remake reality, and the desire, you are imposing a desire on these creative situations. You don't want to just you don't want to connect dots, because that can be very uninteresting. Although I would argue they've kind of done that. Their big mysteries are dots that we were talking about from the announced trailer, really, like the MK11 Shang Tsung. I gather that caught some people by surprise. There's always the fan desire to see, like, Onaga, the Dragon King, back, or something like that. There's these flights of fancy. I don't know how realistic that ever was. Damashi was cited. Maybe that fed that. I was never particularly convinced. MK11 Shang Tsung made sense. I was talking about it. I thought it could be a good idea. To me, it's not a mystery. It doesn't play well as a mystery, and the way they present it is not overly exciting. I thought it would be wonderful. I think, again, this is a train of thought that I think I had, but I didn't quite finish. The idea that, present a reality. I guess this all comes together. Present a reality that makes sense from the conceit. Liu Kang is remaking reality. To me, one of the big obvious changes. Okay, Great Kung Lao. And we got that Great Kung Lao sort of little epilogue teaser in the last game. So what an obvious idea, because we sort of have this notion that the Mortal Kombat champion reigns immortal. So first flip. Okay, Goro, he ensures that, Liu Kang's not going to just make things the way he wants them. Okay, I'd give them that conceit. He's not going to, I don't think Liu Kang is the kind of character who would just erase people, murder people because he doesn't like them. So I can buy like Shang Tsung as the snake oil salesman rather than being erased from existence. Maybe that's not Liu Kang's style, but he could train up, Great Kung Lao. Great Kung Lao seems like such an obvious thing. Fans love this obscure character who's a massive piece of the legend. How do you get him involved in the game without it being total bullshit? Look, it kind of is BS already, this whole concept of MK1. But if we're saying Liu Kang is remaking reality, then okay, Great Kung Lao is not killed and defeated by Goro in the tournament. Great Kung Lao reigns, and have his reign existing to present. So he's a playable character. The Great Kung Lao, the ancient warrior, the star of the Mortal Kombat Conquest TV series, that Kung Lao, the bald guy, even though he's a bit metrosexual in the TV series. Ignore the TV series, it's not canon, it's a multiverse. Get Great Kung Lao, playable, boom. Okay, first big change. Shao Kahn should have been taken out. He should be off the table. And then what are the consequences of Shao Kahn not being involved in Outworld? And I think Edenia should have maintained its independence from Outworld. Or does the removal of Shao Kahn's rise as emperor have a flow-on effect? I mean, you've got why is he weak? The backstory is that Shao Kahn was like this feeble child, But in practice for Mortal Kombat 1, he's just Shao Kahn again, but not in charge. All of these things that are supposed to be different actually turn out to be pretty much what we know. And he's sort of on the verge of taking over. And there's this big plot of Shao Kahn is conspiring with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi to get rid of Sindel to rule Outworld. It's the most basic, it's a decimal change. It's not a significant change at all. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. I'm very conflicted about this whole thing. We got to wrap this up. There's other things to talk about. 40 minutes. Let's just move on. We're in fighting game territory. We might as well at least look at the new Street Fighter character, Aki. We kind of touched on this. Was it the Gamescom trailers? There was a teaser trailer. Now we got the full gameplay trailer. I was curious about it. She's kind of like this old-fashioned archetypal sort of serpent lady, snake lady, which turns out actually manifests itself in her moves quite a lot. She's a poisoner as well, which I guess plays into the snake concept. I like that it's not like, I mean, you look at her dress, it's kind of snake skin. There's a snaky element, but they've subverted it a little bit. She's not too little, but the crazy things are like when she's squiggling around on the ground. Like, look at this, and she's contorting her body kind of the way, a snake might wrap around. She's just got a very interesting way, and I like the hair and everything. She's not going to be my favorite Street Fighter character. She might not rank in the top 30, quite frankly, but she turns out to be a little bit interesting. I like that Street Fighter is, Street Fighter's doing what Mortal Kombat isn't. Although this background does look a bit like the tea house in Mortal Kombat 1. I have full acknowledgement of that. Or even the town they visit in Outworld where the festival's going on or whatever. But I like that Street Fighter 6 is creating new characters. They're moving the series forward. They're maturing their iconic characters. Everything's coming together. I don't think this is peak Street Fighter, but Aki's looking okay to me. She's got like an interesting dress. There's something about her presentation. There is a slight like J-horror thing going on. Reminds me of like the kind of character who'd be, you see these like indie horror games where they're like very PT Silent Hills inspired, where you're traveling through a space, but they get increasingly decrepit. There was one, it was like was there something about Grandmother's House where you're in like this, I don't know, like post-war Japanese house, and it's sort of all decrepit, and there's a body. But the games like that, I feel like she could fit in where she's like a jump scare at some point or something. She's the lurking menace in this environment. I don't know. I'm projecting there. There was a little bit of that in the teaser trailer, I thought, with some of the presentation of her like just jumping up. Maybe that's in there, maybe not. I don't know. The moves are interesting. The squiggly little ground moves. It's interesting to me too. Just I'm not a big gameplay guy, but the mechanical aspect of a character who is so low to the ground, and moving. That's an interesting mechanical issue. I wonder, can a sweep kick, can a low kick, low punch deal with that? Do you need to come down from above? I don't know. Like it's just interesting, because that's like an old problem for fighting games. If you have a character whose hitbox is too small, I think of like Gon in Tekken 3 and the issues that created and things like that. So it's like kind of interesting just to see what they're doing, how it's mixing up the gameplay. I like that, a little bit of a sweep the leg. Interesting character. I think it's pretty good. I got mixed feelings about the sort of the pack. Is it 3 or 4 characters? I forget who's involved. I know Akuma, aka Goki, is sort of like your big heavy hitter. I think there's another new character in the DLC, or is it one of the Street Fighter 5 characters? I forget. I got to do some research before I do these things. Man, I'm still my mind is still aflame with just like disappointment from Mortal Kombat 1. I love Street Fighter. Aki's looking pretty good. Let's move on though to Nintendo Direct, which was one of the big things going on. And here's the real big, if we're gonna have a winner tonight in these games, in like games that are going on right now, this is the winner. F-Zero 99. as far as I know, this came out of nowhere. A lot of people have been looking for a new F-Zero. Probably weren't counting on this. This is brilliant. Look at this. This is genius. Straight away, okay, so these 99 games, I guess it started with Tetris 99. There was Mario 60 or something like that, or I forget what that was. And Pac-Man 99, I think, is another one. These sort of like battle royale versions of old school games. They're all great, but this F-Zero is cashing in on the schoolboy discussion, because you're playing F-Zero and you've got these insane, like, suicidal NPC characters like flying around the track coming at you, and then you get past them and they're gone, and it's that very artificial sense of a race and the field of the race. But now they've delivered on it. This is what you always imagined. This is what you always wanted. 99 racers taking the F-Zero course. And then just add to it, it's players from around the world. This is brilliant. And look at the board. Like, I'm a Sega guy. If you've been in the archive on YouTube, or if you've been in the Hellhole with me before, I'm a Sega guy. Okay, but I'm not an idiot. I know a good thing when I see it. F-Zero 99 is a good thing. I wish I had a Nintendo Switch right now, because I'd be playing the hell out of this. I would have been streaming it all day. I played a bit of Rocket League. If I'm sounding a little hoarse, although I think I'm sounding okay actually, must be the curry I had for dinner. But I've got a little bit of a strain because I've been yelling my throat hoarse playing Rocket League with numbskulls. Let's not go down that road. Let's look at this beauty, this brilliance. I mean, visually, it's very much just classic F-Zero, which is the only one that I've really played. I didn't get into the GameCube or was there a 64 one? Didn't do any of those. I played this. First time I played this was on an international flight on a plane. They had like a built-in Super Nintendo system in the sort of mid to late 90s, and I played F-Zero and I loved it because I'm a Sega guy, but I'm also a PlayStation guy. And if you were here for one of the first birthday extravaganza I did, I'm a big Wipeout guy. I love Wipeout 2097 in particular, the second game. I think it was Wipeout XL in the US. I will always call it Wipeout 2097 because that's the cool and correct name. Wipeout is very much a successor, a descendant of F-Zero. F-Zero is a great time. I'm going to probably play some F-Zero sometime here in the Hellhole because I like playing games. I like having a good time, and I haven't played F-Zero in a long time. And I happen to actually have F-Zero. So that could be a nice time. But I wish I was playing F-Zero 99 because I like this. It's got the added challenge of okay, you're not dealing with like suicidal, exploding maniac, NPC racers anymore. Now you're dealing with real people whose power is depleted, who are potentially bashing you into the sides. They've added this extra like sky rail thing as sort of like, it's a little bit of a shortcut. It gets you out of the pack. It gives you a bit of room to move. It cuts the corners a little bit, smooths the track out a little, so you gain a little bit of ground. That's interesting. And there's this like giant golden car or something, and you can pick up sparks if you're. Is it something to do with the trailer is explaining it? You've already heard it probably. The sparks from players grinding against each other. You can pick that up and get on this sky rail. But I think this is great, and what a beautiful looking game. I still hope that they might come up with something new for F-Zero. Not necessarily in the style of the other games. Like there's the GameCube one. Some of those they're a little bit wonky to me. And there is always that push and pull that you want to distinguish F-Zero from Mario Kart. And certainly, like, the first F-Zero is very similar to the first Super Mario Kart. So there's that sort of push and pull. They have their quirks that are different. But I think in trying to distinguish those, maybe F-Zero went a little too crazy with, like, these insane speeds. And some of the later games where there's, like, is it sort of like a slightly rounded track. I don't know, the presentation of it I wasn't so into. Never really played it though, so I can't say too much. But this I think is brilliant. And I didn't know there was going to be a Nintendo Direct. I check out the Nintendo Directs because, like I'm a gamer, I'm interested in games. Some of these franchises I have some interest in, a certain appeal. Like I may have been like a Sega kid down here in the Sega regions of the hellhole, you know. But I would play Nintendo at friends' houses and families' houses, and I do have some appreciation for those games. And I like I always say, Super Mario Brothers, you know, definitive. Super Mario World's good. There's a lot of good games, but this is great. I love this, and I was very excited to see this from the Nintendo Direct. This is the real inspiration for coming and doing another one of these things where I just talk all over trailers, because I just think this is brilliant, and I wanted to canonize that in the hellhole, make that part of our fabric, our makeup, and maybe this will get me to play F-Zero, because that could be a good time. Yeah, I wish I had a Switch. I don't think I'm going to get one anytime soon, but and there's that push and pull. Do you get a PS5 or do you get a Switch? I don't know. This is cool. This is very good. If you can play this, I certainly recommend it. It's fun to get some of these cool things going in the hellhole. Here's one that I didn't think I would want to talk about. Tomb Raider Remastered. It's the first 3 games, which again, like I said, I was a PlayStation guy. Tomb Raider was a big deal back in the day. Tomb Raider 2 was really, I think, the peak. There was a larger than life-size statue in a newsagent that I would see sometimes. I got some nostalgia for Tomb Raider 2, first Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. Look, it's not, it's maybe not the best way to describe it, but I like this old, what I would call sex doll Lara Croft, because she's absurd. We can acknowledge that she was always a bit of an absurd sort of pop icon. I love it. It's crazy, and this upgrade, it looks great. It actually looks good. I'm assuming there's quality of life improvements to the controls as well, because those controls could be pretty stiff. I assume there's maybe a little bit of an update to that. I'm told, I think Baraka MK in the Discord chat mentioned this will be on PlayStation as well, which appeals to me. And I kind of agree with his sentiment that Lara Croft Tomb Raider belongs on PlayStation. It's such a PlayStation icon, so I'm glad it will be on PlayStation. But this is the first time I've seen any of this in the Nintendo Direct presentation, and I found this appealing. I think I have Tomb Raider 2, and I could dig that out and play that. Maybe I'll do that sometime. I'm not sure. It's always that push and pull of like, it's not that fun to play, if I'm really honest, particularly these days. Back then you would weather the challenges, although it's been a while. Maybe it's not as bad as I remember it. But this is very appealing, the idea that you could get this sort of veneer of updated graphics that are a little less blocky. Although in these days of Minecraft, I wonder if the kids with Switches, are they going to play? They'll probably play the polygon version. And you have the choice. Like they said in the trailer, you have the choice. You can play with the original blocky sort of polygon look, or you can go with the smoothed out visual upgrade. I like both. And to me, this is the Lara Croft that belongs in pop culture. She's not just a regular person that you're going to see in the street. She's a ridiculous, gassed up, sex doll, gun-toting maniac appearing in YouTube promotions and advertisements for energy drinks or something, all that absurd stuff. She's in magazines. She's a digital idol. I like all that. It's larger than life. It's over the top. And it's creating something that doesn't exist. And that's what we need more of. So I like this. This is cool. This is a good way to, hopefully it's cheap too. I'd like to see that it's cheap. Just a cheap bit of entertainment, a classic. A lot of remake stuff appearing in the Nintendo Direct. So that kind of thing puts me off, because they're remaking Mario RPG. They're remaking F-Zero 99 in a way is a remake, although I think it's a very good one. What else? They're remaking something else. There's a lot of remake stuff. Here's something that's been around for a while but isn't necessarily a remake. I think this is a game changer. I think you'll agree. Trombone Champ is coming to Nintendo Switch. Watch your back, Sony, Xbox, You can't buy your way out of this. You sweating? You better be. Shots have been fired. Trombone Champ is coming to Nintendo Switch. The one console future is back on the table. I'm kidding a little bit, but I actually think this is like such a fun game. Fun game. You can get it. I think you can get it on Steam. This has been going around for a while. It's a little bit of a meme. All the kids are having a little giggle at the trombone. Is it at the trombone's expense? I hope not. I think the trombone is to be respected. What a nice... It's like a humorous update to the rhythm game. I feel like we haven't had a good rhythm game in a long time. I was never very fond of Guitar Hero or Rock Band or any of those games. Happy for those to be in the past. My heart belongs to Parappa the Rapper, to Bust a Groove, which was in... I played a little bit of that, or I tried to, in the most recent birthday extravaganza. My heart belongs to Guitaroo Man as well. Trombone Champ. That's the real deal. I like this. I would play this if I had the means. Do I have the means? Is it on Steam? Maybe it's on Steam. Is the world going to collapse if I go and look on Steam? Let's find out. Let's really push this. Trombone Champ is on Steam, so I could conceivably be playing this sometime in the future. That's not a threat. That's a promise. Oh my goodness. What have I done? What have I done? Are we still live? We're live, pal. Things are making creaking, groaning sounds. We're coming up to the hour. Let's appreciate Trombone Champ. It does actually, just on this subject, okay, Nintendo must have more lax standards for independent releases, because there seems to be a lot of things get on Nintendo Switch and they're not on PlayStation or Xbox, which is irritating for me if I'm interested, because I want to play it on PlayStation. Probably PS4 would be my preferred. This was a Vampire Survivors issue. I've been playing Vampire Survivors lately. You can go find it in the YouTube archives. Search for Hellhole, one word. It's on the bottom left of your screen. Hellhole, Vampire Survivors on YouTube. You'll get what I've been doing over in Vampire Survivors, PC gaming in the Hellhole. But I'd been holding out hope that it would be on PlayStation, particularly because Vampire Survivors is so derivative of Castlevania, and there's a little bit of a simpatico with of a similar vibe with Symphony of the Night. So I was hoping it would be on PlayStation. It wasn't. It's on Switch now. If you're on Switch, maybe you want to check that out. And if you're curious about Vampire Survivors, like I said, go check it out in the archive. I'll be playing some more sometime soon because I'm working my way through it. I want to clear out Vampire Survivors at least to some satisfaction. I got things to do. But yeah, here's another PC independent game or whatever that's found its way to Nintendo Switch. I was looking. I just played Toxic Crusaders, which will be in the archive at some stage. It's on Twitch if you want to go check that out. But that's by Retrowave, whatever they're called. They've also got a game called Prison City, which I'm told is going to be on Switch. Which again, like Prison City, I want to play that on PlayStation, but it seems to be the threshold for getting this stuff on Switch is a lot easier. I don't know if it's more lucrative, if that's a factor for some independent developers, if it's an easier process, if it's a cheaper process to get these games on. I don't know. Trombone Champ's on Switch. Go nuts, kids. Here's the last one. There was a Sony State of Play, and by and large, I didn't really care. I didn't really watch. Sony's lost their cool. Here's a Spider-Man trailer. Well, we started with Mortal Kombat 1 and a whole lot of bitching, and we're probably going to end with a bit of bitching too, because I got to be honest. I played that Spider-Man PS4 game. I'm a big comic book fan. You can see I've got my little Fantastic Four gimmick for a logo on the screen right now. That's what that reference is. I'm not actually claiming to be the world's greatest comic stream. This isn't even a comic stream. This is a gaming stream. What are you talking about? That's just a little riff on the Fantastic Four, the world's greatest comics magazine. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. I like comics a hell of a lot. I'm a big maniac for comics. Look at this. What have I got? I got shit all over my office. There's some Green Lantern for you. I got some X-Force. I don't know. I went on a Rob Liefeld thing. I got Youngblood 1. in any event, I'm just trying to emphasize the point that, yeah, I like comics, and I have a long history with comics. And I have a long history with Spider-Man because, of course, Spider-Man is a perennial favorite for most comic book fans. And that first game was tremendously unsatisfying. I did not like Spider-Man PS4. I found it incredibly tedious just as a game. I was massively disinterested with the tasks presented to me. And as a comic book fan, I loathe the aesthetic changes. I don't like the character changes that they made. Mr. Negative was very good. Mr. Negative was probably the most comics accurate. They didn't really change him too wildly, certainly not aesthetically. But all this junk-ass like metal designs, armored designs, which is such a stinking cliche by now. Never been good. It's never been good. You're kidding yourself if you think it's been good. But it's just rank and on the nose by now. It's a horrible cliche. So you got all that factor, but like, what villains are there? I played like 70% of that game. Kingpin shows up at the beginning in a massively tedious fight. Could be any goon henchman, and believe me, there are plenty of henchmen in that game. It is non-stop henchmen. Give me a freaking villain. Mr. Negative is like the best thing. There's big gaps. There's the walking sims. There's the code cracking crap with the circuits. That game was so tedious. And like all this noise about, oh, it feels great to play and stuff. It builds on Spider-Man 2, the 2004 PS2 game. Okay. Doesn't really do it a lot better, quite frankly. The basic mechanics of the game, sure, they're fine. Good. That's what I expect as a minimum for a Spider-Man game, that I can play and it feels like Spider-Man. They got that figured out in 2004, like 20 years ago on PS2. That was the first big step of that one, because you had like the web swinging, but also within the context of an entire city from floor to rooftop. Because before that, there would be no ground a lot of the time. Okay, so that's a given. But it was just such a miserable experience, that PS4 game. And I expect this PS5 sequel to be much the same. We already know, like, they're futzing around with, like, Venom isn't Eddie Brock. I think the hot theory is it's Harry Osborn. Like, what is this trash? And then the justification, oh, it's a multiverse. We can just do whatever the hell because of multiverses. Bullshit, man. Put some effort in. Work on it. Use the material. You're leveraging the material. You're licensing material. Use it. Do something good with it. You got like at least 50 years of decent comics to work with. Maybe they're not in the best of shape right now. It feels like nothing in pop culture is. Cobra Kai's out there. Shout out to Cobra Kai. And there's some good things. Look, I mean, we said nice things about F-Zero 99. It's not all negative. But look at all this crap. This trailer, I guess this trailer is essentially selling the skins. I don't care about half of this. Like, what is this crap? Who's excited about this? Some of it, you know, it's okay. It's colorful. I guess there are references for some of these things. I don't know. I'm not excited about them. You know, you give me the basics, I'm kind of happy. Your black costume, symbiote costume, which they are doing in this game. Not totally sold on the presentation of it. Give me that. Give me Cosmic Spider-Man. You know, Captain Universe, the Omni Power. Give me Scarlet Spider, Spider-Man 2099. You know, that kind of stuff. Those are the good ones. I don't know how many of them are in there. The lizards, I don't know. It's not the classic lizard. Give me the guy in the lab coat. I've seen humanoid lizards like that. That's generic. That you can get that anywhere. Reptiles doing something like that in Mortal Kombat 1, for crying out loud. You can get lizard men anywhere. Give me the lizard, the Steve Ditko lizard with the lab coat, the pants, the classic. You know, there's room for variation, and I'm not wildly offended by this, if I'm totally honest. This lizard's fine, but I don't know. Everything just about this seems tedious and disappointing, and I don't expect it to be much better than that first game. I didn't play the Miles Morales one. I'm not a big Miles Morales guy, and if I was upset about the first game not having, a whole bunch of villains, well, I don't think that Miles Morales game was going to do me much better. I don't know what to tell you. Them's the breaks. That's Spider-Man 2. This has been the Hellhole. We've been talking a whole lot of nonsense about different games, and what do you think? I didn't hear from you in the chat today. That's okay. I forgot to tell anyone that I was doing this because it was very last minute. It's incredibly late right now. I should be getting going, but if you're watching in the archive, thank you very much. Some great action going on over in YouTube. Really appreciate any support. If you can like, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment. Tell me what what are you thinking about these games? Did I hit on any salient points, or is it all smiles where you are? Because I'm not thrilled by some of it. I got F-Zero 99 going again because that's the winner. That's the good one. Loving that. If you're playing F-Zero 99, tell me what you think. Is it good? I like hearing other people's opinions. I like hearing what you think, what you got going on. Were there maybe some games in the Nintendo Direct or PlayStation State of Play that maybe I overlooked something? Maybe there's something I need to check out. Tell me what some of your favorites were. I'd like to hear it because I think that's cool. We're all here for the same reason. We got interests. We enjoy these things. We got to pursue what we like. Oh my goodness. We got to pursue, like our happiness. I'm pursuing my happiness, not yours. Okay. And you don't need to pursue my happiness. Tell me what you're enjoying. What is your sincere pleasure? And hopefully that's not making a whole lot of noise. It could be. I'm wrapping it up here. Man, it's crazy late. I got to get going. Thanks for hanging out, guys. This is great. Great. We got more stuff going on. I got stuff I'm doing this unboxing. I'm on this kick of like reactions. I'm doing unboxing. Who is this man? I don't do these things. This is insane. I'm waving my hands around. I'll see you sometime real soon, playing some more Vampire Survivors and Street Fighter 6 and all kinds of things. Adios, amigos. Catch you next time.